One of us. Don't just listen, belong. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon.
Are your pots getting black? Stove burners need changing? Visit Domestic and Commercial Appliance Spares Limited, Regal Plaza, Old Hope Road, Kingston. The place where you can get almost everything for cooking, refrigeration, and laundry repairs. That's Domestic and Commercial Appliance Spares Limited. For more information, call or WhatsApp us at 876-445-2895. Call directly at 876-968-5104 or visit our website at www.dcappliancespares.com.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
From the biggest tracks to the biggest energy, Nationwide keeps it moving. If you love the vibes, come and lock in with us for real.
World boss, leave a prison could stop me.
Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Practice. God me say you watch you over me practice.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Looking to remodel your home? Need a unique marble countertop design or stylish bathroom faucet? Look no more. Garrett Trading caters to all your building finishing needs. From tiles and countertops to kitchen sinks and toilets, we have it all. Contact us today at 876-634-9773 or 876-669-8996. Visit our showrooms at 169 Constant Spring Road, Kingston 8 or Stone Yard at 10 to 12 Claredale Avenue, Kingston 10. Garrett Trading for fine finishes, fittings, and fixtures.
Thank you so much for joining us. It is The Week That Was, your weekly news and current affairs program. Of course, this is where we review the major stories that shaped the past week and take an informed look at what lies ahead. If you want to understand the news, not just consume it, this is certainly the program for you. I'm your host, Saeed Bernard, and joining me today to bring analysis to the major stories of the week, to my immediate right, Director of Research at the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, Dr. Diana Thorburn. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. And of course, to her right, veteran journalist and a regular here at this point, Durant Pate. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.
Good, good. Well, matters of governance, accountability, and health dominated the last week's news cycle. And of course, Mahira Stewart, as usual, recaps the top stories.
Fourth on our list is Cuba's willingness to consider a U.S. offer of $100 million in aid. The offer came hours after rare protests erupted in Cuba over worsening power cuts. The shortages have been exacerbated by a U.S.-imposed blockade of oil, which has squeezed the country's supplies of essentials such as diesel and fuel oil. Cuba's foreign minister says it's unclear whether the aid support would be in cash or kind, but he says the Cuban regime is open to hearing the details of the proposal and how it would be implemented. Third is the revelation that Jamaica is not getting the desired returns on its comparable investment into its children, including education. That's according to a report from the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, titled Room for Improvement, The Gap Between Public Spending and Child Outcomes in Jamaica, commissioned by UNICEF Jamaica. The report notes that across labor-intensive social sectors, a growing majority of what is classified as child-focused spending is absorbed by the wage bill before it reaches any child. Capri's Director of Research, Dr. Diana Thorburn, says this leaves a thin and, in some cases, contracting operational envelope for the goods, services, and capital investments that constitute direct delivery. Capri put forward 5 recommendations to correct this imbalance. They include a call to rebalance child investment towards the earliest years.
Government introduced child disaggregated reporting requirements into our public financial management framework, requiring ministries and agencies with child-focused mandates to report child-specific program targets, output indicators, and prior year outturn, meaning what they actually spent the previous year, in their annual budget submissions, embedding this in statute over time to ensure continuity across administrations.
In second place is the government's plan to establish a $1 billion health infrastructure maintenance fund. This was one of the measures announced by Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton as he made his contribution to the sectoral debate on Tuesday.
This is a fund that will see us establishing an inventory management system to establish benchmark quality of all our infrastructure, group our infrastructure into clusters, provide servicing manuals for each piece of that infrastructure. We're focusing on mechanical, electrical, plumbing, air conditioning, and HVAC and elevator services. And we'll determine whether we service those routinely in-house or through some outsourcing.
He also announced several other measures to improve the health sector. These include a $500 million care fund to combat non-communicable diseases at the community level and a special unit for recruiting specialist medical staff internationally. This week's top story is the Auditor General flagging over $1 billion in unspent hurricane relief donations. A real-time audit into the Hurricane Melissa Relief Initiative, administered by ODPEM, found that only less than 2%, or $26 million, of the over $1.4 billion in hurricane donations had been spent up to April 2, 2026. That's 6 months after Melissa devastated western parishes. The report found that weaknesses in financial management, governance, and program accountability limited transparency over Hurricane Melissa relief resources. ODPEM's Director General, Commander Alvin Gale, sought to defend the lack of spend. According to him, it reflects the agency's prudent fiscal management.
At the material time, we had spent some $26 million to support the government-directed roof repair program under the shelter recovery program. We had ceased spending directly from that account, as we would have written to the Ministry of Finance to see the regularizations of the funds as is required. Since then, we have spent some $135 million to support the program. We must also understand that at the time's material, some $400 million worth of building material and sundries were donated to the program, which, when we looked at it, it would have been prudent for us to retain the funds and cause for the donated materials to be used in the execution of the program. So it's against that background, only $26 million would have been spent.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Those are the top stories of the week, and I'm going to get right into it with Diana and Durant. First of all, $1 billion unspent. Diana?
You know, the first thing that came to mind when I heard that story was many years ago when I had delivered my last child up at the University Hospital, and the bathrooms were in a terrible state. Now, to have a bathroom in a terrible state for a mother who has just given birth is horrible. And I vowed when I left there that I was going to fix those bathrooms. And I did. I raised them. No, I didn't fix them. I raised the money, and I chased down the hospital for about a year, trying to give them the money to fix those bathrooms until people stopped taking my calls. Eventually, I got an email from, at the time, I think it was the head of the hospital, basically saying, leave us alone. And the point of that, and this has come up in so many other ways, including in the research that Capri has done in so many areas, is that we have such a capacity deficit in government, in our ministries, departments, and agencies, to do anything that is out of the ordinary routine line of work.
Yes.
So a hurricane happens, we have X amount of $1 billion to spend. We just don't have the human beings with the intellectual capacity to figure out how are we going to do this given the constraints that we have around various things.
Somebody might be listening now and be like, what do you mean we don't have the capacity to spend money?
What to spend money requires a lot, and it comes back to, you hear the complaints about procurement, but it requires figuring out, okay, let's take the procurement aside. It requires figuring out, okay, what are we actually going to spend it on? How are we going to ensure that what we're spending is the right amount? How are we going to ensure that it's getting to where it needs to go? Are we certain that this is correct? Do we have the permits that we need? I can think of so many things. If we go to the area of child protection, for example, Section 24 was repealed of the Child Care and Protection Act, which was to remove the uncontrollable children clause. And it was replaced by something called a therapeutic order. That therapeutic order required that therapeutic centers exist. To get a therapeutic center for troubled adolescents off the ground is a humongous undertaking. And even though the money was there to do it, the effort that it will take to get that going, the staff that it will require to fix, the permits that are going to be needed, the community sensitization that you're going to have this facility in your midst. I mean, I'm just giving examples of real life things of how difficult these things are. And we are in our public sector and in many of our entities that we're working in, we're just doing what we actually have to do the next day to get the next thing going, to make sure we meet the target that we have to make that is right in front of us. So this new unprecedented, unexplored set of work comes in front of us. We just don't have the capacity to do it. We are just lacking in capacity across government, across public sector. Private sector might also say it as well. Wow. We just lack human beings who can, remember the Minister of Finance had said, Jamaica just lacks people who can do things.
Get things done.
Just get things done. Not any specialists as well, but just people who can figure out, okay, this is where we need how to get from A to B. And this is how we're going to get there, and this is how we're and mobilize and have the energy and the bandwidth and the understanding to get it done.
6 months later, 6 months after a hurricane.
Yeah, and people are there hurting. They need help, and here is this wanton help that is there, and they can't have it. But I take Dr. Thorburns' point that what you need is creative management. For example, she mentioned about toiletries or the bathroom. I go to toiletries. You do not need a purchase order from, say, corporate services department to get a dozen or so tissue for the bathroom. It just needs creative management. You can go to the petty cash and you get that. I understand that you don't want to be too loose or too flippant, but it just takes careful management and sensible spending. And it is a slap in the face to have so much money that is there unattended to, and the need is so great outside.
All right, and let me go then to the next story, the $1 billion Health Infrastructure Maintenance Fund. Again, I guess this goes right to Diana's point. You may have the fund, but who's going to spend the money to actually do the maintenance?
Well, I think also in the health sector, there's another layer of thinking about it, which is that, Capri just did this report looking at spending on children, and one of the parts of the report that we didn't get to go too much into in the presentation that you showed the clip of is the commitments that have been made. So there's a whole section of the report, which is huge, that talks about commitments and trying to identify how the commitments are matched in the budget by budget lines for those things, and very few of them are. And I think if we were to do a similar analysis for health, if we looked at all the commitments, if we just took what is announced in Parliament in the budget speeches, in the sectoral presentations, and from whenever to whenever, and look to see, okay, well, where's the budget line for this? I don't think you're going to find it. So when I hear 100, and I don't even know how much it is, the numbers don't even the numbers actually don't even register to me anymore. because I don't see it actually happen. With the exception of Cornwall and the amounts there and what we know is spent or not spent there, we hear announcements of this fund, this task force, that task force, this working group, that working group, this amount being committed here, this amount being committed there. And I want to see the outturn. I want to see where that money was spent. I'm tired of hearing about money that's going to be spent. I want to see where the money was spent.
Yeah. Diane mentioned about committees and task force and announcement. And I just recall the PJ Patterson administration. I describe that as an administration of committees. Every single problem you can find, there's a committee that is announced, deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? What I find here is this government is new announcement. Some of these new announcements is just repackaged program that
announcements
was
and acronyms
before.
they call them.
Yes. You mentioned about the $1 billion infrastructure fund.
Yes.
That fund should have been set up more than 7 years ago when we realized, in particular, Cornwall Regional Hospital, that we had a deficit in terms of the infrastructure.
Let me ask you this, Durant. We're here now. Yeah, it should have been done in the past. What we're here now, is the $1 billion even enough?
No, it's not. Considering that you are way down the line in terms of beefing up our infrastructure, keeping a pace with the current times, current equipment. We always hear that there's machine down in the public health sector, but we need to maintain them.
I'm going to disagree.
Yeah.
1 billion is enough if the 1 billion can be spent and spent properly. 1 million is enough if the 1 million can be spent and spent properly. My quibble is that I'm not seeing where the money is being spent.
The minister speaks about some mistakes of the past. Are those some of the mistakes? And what does he have to put? Because just having the fund, as you rightly said, isn't enough. How do you solve those mistakes with allocating the money?
It's not a matter of having the fund. It's announcing the fund is not enough. I'm stuck at the announcements. Right. I'm stuck at the announcements. And this goes across
What more do
government.
they need to put in place to operationalize what they've announced?
I think they need to put in very transparent accountability measures. I mean, if we even talk about NARA and what would really satisfy the requirement that people have, the demands that people have for accountability, is put an entire website up to show exactly how much money is going in, how much is being spent and how, and do it in real time. We as taxpayers have the right to that. That's not an unusual thing to do. That should be the case for every single project that goes in. It's something that we talk about when we look at budget accountability and budget tracking. And there are some provisions that Ministry of Finance has gestured towards of doing that kind of accountability and tracking mechanism. As taxpayers, we should be able to see where the money is going, or when it's announced, when it actually lands in whatever account is supposed to disburse it. A lot of times these announcements are made, and that is it. That is the only time that money is ever seen, in the print, in the newspaper, in the news item.
Yeah.
I think we just need a much stronger mindset about accountability, and the technology exists for us to have it. We as citizens should be demanding much more, whether it's 100 and how much is 100 billion? I don't even know how much it is. I don't even listen to the numbers. Whether it's that, whether it's NARA, whether it's child spending, all the things that are announced for children that we never see anything more after the announcement is made. I could go on in several other sectors that we hear great announcements for, and then we never see anything more after
but
the
I
announcement.
still maintain the point. 1 billion is insufficient considering we're coming far down the line.
I have to go to the next one, because it seems to be a problem with spending money. And here it is now, again, a gap between the public spend and child outcomes in Jamaica. And I want to have this conversation in view of the point that the opposition spokesman on education, he has just filed a constitutional motion to say that the right to pre-primary education is not being given by the government. Putting all of this in context, Diana, your organization did the study, you did the presentation. Why are we only now having this conversation?
We're not, Mikey Witter did this study in 2006, looking at 3 years of government spending, 2003 to 2006. And no surprises here, he came to the same conclusion we did 20 years ago. The issue of compensation taking up much of the spend. Now, I think the difference between what Mikey Witter did 20 years ago, and what we did is we looked at a much broader range of spending, and also there is much more being spent. I mean, back in 2003, 2006, we were much less prosperous than we are now. And so the fact that it's being done now, no, we have done it before. This is a kind of investigation that UNICEF does in countries all over the world. We had to tailor it somewhat for the Jamaican context because it was being done not by government. When government does a study like this, it's very different because they have access to much more information than we would have had. So we were only going with estimates of expenditure and then publicly declared commitments, and where we could find the commitments to match.
Can I pick your brain, though, on Dr. Sarban? How do you reconcile with what's happening and the Orlando Patterson report, which looked at the education system generally? The report is being implemented, but what surprises me or what knocks me is the piecemeal approach in which the implementation is happening.
Well, just to be clear, we looked at 8 sectors, not just education. Education, of course, is the largest sector. It takes up the most government spend, and it's the largest sector in terms of child-related spending. So I think the concern is, and whether it comes to the Patterson report or if we look at any other sector, is the absence of tracking. So how much goes in and what we get out, and what is happening in between there. That is, I think, where the big questions are. And so whether it is a Patterson report or any other report and its implementation, what we really need to be looking at is what are we getting for what we are spending? And one of the points that the report makes is that we are spending a lot in education and we're not seeing the outcomes.
And a lot of that is wrapped up in wages. How do we go around that?
It's 2 things. I think it's 2 things. One is that it's wrapped up in wages. So, after the presentation, a young influencer person came to me and he said, I now understand why when I went to X primary school, the principal was driving an X6 and there was no fan in the classroom. I think that's a perfect way of understanding what it means to have compensation taking up so much of the allocation when infrastructure and other programmatic
but don't you have to pay the teachers well in order to keep them and get the talent in order to teach the students?
Absolutely, and we should be paying teachers well. We should be paying them more. All public sector workers should be paying them more. But we also need to be getting more from them. We need to be getting more in terms of children who are learning more, who are learning better. In Jamaica, for 11 and a half years of school, children leave with 7 and a half years of education. That is unacceptable. We are a low productivity country, including in delivery of public services, including in the delivery of education services. After the report was finished, I saw that the Ministry of Finance had a negotiation with the JTA where they had agreed to an accountability framework. That's exactly what we need. I don't know the details of that, but we need, again, I keep saying it, I sound like a broken record, greater accountability in what's going in and what we're getting for it. The amount that we are spending on education, and it's such a frustration.
We should have been getting more output.
We have been putting a lot into education for years, and you can hear the frustration. We're still not getting these outcomes. We're putting so much in. The envelope has gotten bigger. Every year the envelope is bigger. It's always the biggest category of spending, but we're still have this extremely low productivity. We cited a figure from the World Bank of our Human Capital Index being 0.53, meaning that students, by the time they reach age 18, are realizing half of their productive potential in Jamaica.
Wow.
Of course, that's not everybody, but the high productive ones, they migrate. And so
some of us.
Well, right.
But Dr. Thorburn, how do we have identified that one of the main problems is the fact that administration takes up far too much of the education budget. How do we shrink that we get more into the units of production, which is our students, at the expense of the administration of the education system?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think there is first a need to be clearer about exactly how it's being spent, how the salaries money is being spent and how the non-salaries money is being spent, so that we can see more clearly where it's directed to and where it's actually going. That's where the tracking and the accountability comes in. But I think we also need to think about what else there is that goes into creating a child, a productive child, a healthy child, a regulated child, somebody who's going to be an adult that can function in society and carry the increasingly aging population that they're going to have to carry. And it's not only in school. Furthermore, most of the kind of foundation that enables a child to perform well in school is in the cognitive development of the child.
Which is the pre-primary.
It's not just pre-primary schooling. So yes, there's early childhood education, but there's also all the other inputs that go into the 0 to 3 period. Parenting, stimulation, the nature of the household that that child is going into, nutrition, other aspects of health. So to my mind, there's a need to be more meticulous about where the education spend is going, but also to be thinking about and figuring out how do we invest more in the preschool years in all the different dimensions that we know there's a greater return on investment. If you put a child into school, it could be a fantastic school. They could have a laptop. They could have every book that there is. They could have wonderful teachers. But if that child doesn't have a strong cognitive foundation, they're going to end up with the 7 years instead of 11 years for the 11 years that they spend.
Wow. Well, sounds like we have a problem on our hands that has to be rectified.
No, it's not a problem. You know, it's not a problem because we know what the solution is.
What is the solution?
The solution is to invest more in the preschool years.
Spend more
in the preschool years.
Does that give weight then to the constitutional claim by Damien Crawford?
Well, yes and no. I mean, UNICEF had done a report a couple of years ago about analyzing the spend in education, and it showed very clearly that we spend too much on tertiary at the expense of pre-primary and primary. I'm talking about the non-school inputs, so even outside of the education system. And that's a whole other study that I would love for us to do at Capri's. Like, so what are the policy areas in which we could be looking? I don't know what they actually are, what those kinds of interventions look like, but they would be in health, nutrition, housing, family stability, early stimulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, of course, we go on to Movers and Shakers. Patwa in the house.
Attention contractors, developers, and homeowners. Glacier White Corian Solid Surface is now at a special price. While stocks last, choose Corian for your commercial and residential projects. You won't regret it. It's durable, beautiful, and long-lasting. No sealing necessary. Corian is the #1 solid surface in the world. Second to none. Visit Home International Limited at 104 Constant Spring Road. Telephone 876-755-1970 or 876-276-6448. Open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
This station raised me. It gave me a voice. And if Nationwide has ever meant something to you, come on in. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
It's 12:29. Thank you so much for staying with us. Welcome back to the week that was. It's time now for the segment we call the Movers and the Shakers. The focus today is on the standing orders of Parliament. This is after House Speaker Juliet Holness shut down attempts by MP for South St. James, Nikisha Burchell, to present her contribution to the sectoral debate in the Jamaican dialect, as we call it, Patois. Well, some may recall MP Alonda Terrelong also being allowed to make a presentation in Parliament in Spanish. Are the standing orders archaic and in need of revision? To discuss, we are joined by former parliamentarian and current educator Maxine Henry Wilson. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Said, Could I make a clarification? He actually was never allowed to speak Spanish. He tried to, but he was never allowed.
No. He got permission from the House Speaker.
My recollection is that he was not allowed. He tried to.
No. My recollection is he started. Everett Warmington was the one who objected, and then the Speaker, on her own volition, actually clarified to say that he had sought permission, given that I think there were some members from Cuba in the House, and he was speaking to them. Yes, that's my understanding. That's what I recall that happened. Maxine Hilbert-Wilson, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, the standing orders and the issue of our dialect, patois, being used in the House, is it appropriate or not?
No, well, I would say it's not appropriate, but it's not allowed by the standing orders. The standing orders really is just like any other organization. Here are the rules. Here are what we do to ensure that there is compliance with what is required, right? There's a lot of pages, 62 pages, covering all kinds of things about the House. How you debate, how you enter, how you leave, all kinds of things. In fact, it covers how you dress. And there was a time when people were not allowed to wear kariba, right? Now, if you want to change that, then there is a process for changing it, which is you set up a standing orders committee, and you go through and you say, here we want to change, and you make sure there's a majority, and you change it. But in terms of the dialect, remember, it's a very controversial issue, whether it is in Parliament or outside of Parliament. In fact, there has been a lot of discussion, as you may be aware. Some say it's not a language, so why are you using it? It's not a language, because it doesn't conform with all the various syntax and this and that of a language. There are others who say absolutely not. So that in itself is controversial. But the standing orders say very clearly that you speak in the official language for presentations and debates. I suppose if you ask for special permission, that will be fine, but it does state that, so the question is, what is our official language? So far, we've said that English is our official language. So it would be anticipated that that is what people would present in. And if there should be any change, either it is change overall or special permission is sought. But I don't think, and of course, one of the things that the presentation by Ms. Virgil did was once again bring to the public eye the fact that we're so undecided about this patois and what it really is.
Well, let me ask you, Maxine, is it now time to amend the standing orders, have a motion to amend the standing orders to include being able to speak in patois?
I don't know that. I mean, I can't speak absolutely about that, because the question is, do we accept it as an official language? Do we accept it as even as a second language? It has been a struggle, I mean, we can say about even for us to use it as a language of entry for children into certain situations so that they can feel confident to speak. And it has always come down to, a sort of erudite thing that what we're trying to do is dumb down the children. So until we settle some of those things, then, I mean, and as I say, you can amend the standing orders. So if you feel that strongly, then ask your parliamentarian to go in and constitute a committee, a standing orders committee, and amend it.
Let me ask you this way then, Maxine, because critics of allowing patois in the parliament, they have argued that it would undermine the formality and the dignity of the institution. And some view that argument as a form of linguistic elitism that devalues the culture and the identity of most Jamaicans. Do you share that? Do you share that?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but we have to decide what is patois and what is just bad English. There's a distinction between bad English, which we use in Parliament, and patois. Patois has a structure, it has a vocabulary, it has semantics, so we would have to know that is patois is distinct from just talking bad English. And that's where we have to send it to, because...
But speaking bad English in the... I mean, put it this way, Maxine, to be frank with you. I've heard many parliamentarians who their subject and their verbs don't agree. It's bad English.
That's my point.
But they use it.
That's precisely my point. That's precisely my point. What you're going to do is get bad English. Because there's no agreement on what is patois, what is the language, what is how you should use it, what is the vocabulary. There's no agreement on it. So what you're getting now is people who just can't speak English, who just speak their normal language. That's the vernacular. It's not necessarily proper. So it's a little bit more complex than just saying, okay, let's change the standing order. What are we going to use to judge that this person is speaking patois?
Very well. Very well. So you're saying there's more to it than just changing the standing
Yeah,
order. We need to decide on whether or not we will recognize patois as an official language. One off.
Yes, and it's not unique to us, Think about the Maoris in New Zealand, the Aborigines, the Indians in North America. Every time it has come to when are we going to be able to use our indigenous language?
And they use their language as a form of protest in the New Zealand Parliament.
Exactly. Well, so what I'm saying, perhaps that is what Ms. Burchell was doing, drawing it to attention. But whenever they do that, though, they are either suspended. There was a most recent protest, I think it was in New Zealand. They are either suspended, the session is suspended, but they are not allowed to speak their indigenous language. It's far more structured than ours, actually, what we call.
True.
So it's a little bit more complex than just changing the standing order.
Very well. Well, Maxine Henry Wilson, thank you so much for your thoughts. Okay, not here now. Seems like some technical difficulties. Very well. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We need to first of all figure out whether or not we'll form this language as a formal language, and then have the conversation as to whether or not we amend the standing orders. I think it's much ado about just getting the thing done. We should either have it or don't have it. Choose. But anyways, sufficient until the day. Up next, we look forward to the winners and losers.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GLand Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. GLand Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
If you love the vibes, the laughs, and the real talk, then you're one of us. Don't just listen, belong. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon.
It's 12:39, and of course it's that time of the afternoon when we speak about the winners and losers of the past week. This is where our guest will tell us, who won the week and who lost the week based on the week that was. So, Durant, I'm starting with you.
Okay.
Winner or loser first? Your choice.
Well, I have a winner first, I have a loser, and I have a tiebreaker.
All right. All right. How about it?
The winner for me is the Auditor General Department.
Okay.
The department continues to show that it works, it does work, and it is working. The department has put together a real-time report. Traditionally, what you find in a lot of these government departments is that the report comes after the event.
Mm-hmm.
This is now a real-time report that while the program is in process, it's being interrogated, and it's good. Now we see where we can put some corrective action while the program is still at work. So that is good for me. The loser for me is the black eye that the Education Ministry gets with the Capri report juxtaposed with Damien Crawford taking them to court and the whole issue that the education system is in shambles.
Mm-hmm.
My tiebreaker now is Colonel Curry and the Accompong Maroons election. We see where the former colonel went to court. He got an ex-parte injunction that they should not have no election until the matter is heard, I think, on June 10. We saw where that was openly defied on Friday gone. Colonel Curry is now the sole candidate, so I guess he is the colonel by acclamation. And it's open defiance of the court, and yeah, we have the whole issue about sovereignty, which is still hasn't been settled. So
Is it the defiance of the Supreme Court of the Maroons or the Supreme Court of Jamaica?
It would be.
I'm just pulling the leg.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay, yeah.
I find it interesting, and I want you to tell me. I find it interesting that a former colonel thought it fit to file a claim to resolve a dispute in the Maroon town that
which
they
is sovereign. Yes,
they say that
yes.
it's sovereign.
So you
to then go to the Supreme Court Judicature of Jamaica to make an order about something happening in the Maroon community.
Right. I take the point. It's a slap in the face that Maroons are sovereign. They are a state within a state, and you can't expect the state to be arbitrating for your state, which is totally separate according to you from Jamaica.
I'm pretty sure, because I see them come with their own money, their own license plate.
Yes.
At one point, the colonel even had a firearm, and he's saying, "Well, this is not illegal in the Maroon town because it's
sovereign,
legal here. We're sovereign." So I'm imagining that it's on that basis why he ignored what the court had to say, because the court can't rule on what's happening.
The colonel is a very, very educated man.
He's a
master's
yes, he is.
business administration graduate. We both attended Mona School of Business, and we both graduated in 2008.
You took that opportunity to have a master's. Well, she has a PhD.
No, she's my lecturer. Oh, wow.
Yes,
she lectured me in international relations.
Okay, got it.
I just commented that she has gotten so wiser.
Well, that's what happens when you're continuously learning, eh?
Yes.
So I think it goes one of two ways. Professor Vassiani puts it one way, that based on the test they are not sovereign, and I think even this action shows why they're not sovereign. Yeah, but I get it. All right, Diana, over to you. Or should I say Doc, give it that go?
Well, Durant was my student, Nikisha Burchell was my student, Nesta was my student, Marlon Morgan, Delano. So any good thing they do is because of me.
Okay.
Any bad thing that they do is somebody else, some other lecturer.
I should say I have a master's as well.
But you weren't taught by the
I wasn't.
Diana.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay, winners, losers, and I'm going to start with the tiebreaker because I like that, and it was a story that was mentioned at the outset that we didn't get to talk about. I think the tiebreaker is the Cuban people. They are both losing and winning with the current situation, so they are in a terrible situation without having any electricity.
Yeah.
But there's some hope in the sense that this is a situation that is going to bring their government to its knees and force it to open up, then they will be the winners from it. So I'm going to say that they're both the winners and the losers, or the tiebreaker for the week. One little thing, Durant, I wouldn't say it's the education ministry that's the loser because of the Capri report. It is the overall way in which we do things as a country, and overall way in which our government spends without accountability. And that it's not anything to do with this administration or X particular minister or X particular person. It's a systemic and structural issue that we have to make up our minds that we can fix. And we can fix it. And so I'd say, in a way, the winner is the people who want accountability, because we know what to do and we know that we can do it. One of the things that the report closed on is that Jamaica can do hard things. We stabilized our economy. We've brought the murder rate down. Those are not easy things to do. Those took a lot of discipline, investment, restructuring, putting in different systems of doing things, technology, etc. So we can do hard things. I'd say the winner, in contradiction to what Durant said, is not just the education ministry, but all who are concerned about us doing better. Not just for children, but just as a country, that we know what to do. As I say, they're not problems if we know what the solutions are, and we know what the solutions are. But I'd say the loser, on the other hand, again, coming back to the first thing that we talked about, is people who had the trust and faith in
what was the name of the site? SupportJamaica.gov.
Support Jamaica.
That one is a blow because all of us are like, no, put your money there, send money there,
Yeah.
directing people there. And now it's embarrassing. That I think those of us who had so much trust and faith and wanted to make sure that people's money didn't go to, people are going to scam them or anything, I would say those of us are the losers.
You know something, Diana, that came to me when I heard the conversation? That more than ever reminded me why service clubs were important. I mean, I'm a new member of Rotary Club of Kingston, for example, and the work that we've done since the hurricane and from the funds that we've received and, fundraised. Imagine if there were no service clubs and all of these monies were pumped through Support Jamaica, for example, and then there's this bottleneck. What happens then? But I want to ask you, though, them being the loser, what does it do for reputation if something like this were to happen again?
No, well, I don't think it has to happen again. I think the reputation is already damaged. When we had COVID and we had that data breach, it amazed me that people did not realize what a serious thing that was. And everybody just proceeded as, oh, okay, yeah, just a little data breach. Unfortunately, at least as far as we know, nothing terrible happened as a result of it. But these things continue to happen and they erode our trust in the state. In every single Capri study that we do, one of the factors of explaining why the situation is as it is lack of trust in government, lack of trust in institutions. Why are Jamaicans underbanked? Because we lack trust. Why didn't we want to take the COVID vaccine? Because we don't trust the government. So this just continues to deteriorate the very thing that needs the most strengthening, which is trust in government. So I don't know if they can recover from that. If we were to have a next hurricane or any other next disaster, earthquake, whatever, do you think anybody is going to send money to support Jamaica?
No, the rest of the money not spent all now.
Yeah.
And money some even burial haven't been spent all now.
Well, I didn't know about that part of it, but considering what we've learned this time, it wouldn't surprise me if it is.
Wow. So there you have it, winners and losers and tiebreakers, interestingly. So let me recap it now. So the tiebreaker for you, Durant, was the Maroons. Your winner is...
My winner is the Auditor General.
The Auditor General, the real-time auditing, and your loser is
my
the Education
loser is
Ministry.
the education system.
The education system. Okay, so you're amending that, the education system. Very
because it's a systemic problem.
Yes.
And this now further opens it up.
But the education system don't fall under the Ministry of Education?
Yeah, we know, but what Dr. Starburn is saying is that don't necessarily target the ministry or the minister.
But the education system falls under the education ministry.
Yes, but the ministry.
So how do you not say it falls? How do you not say it's the ministry's fault?
The ministry is not the only component. There are other components which altogether cause the system to flop.
Okay, so the education system.
Here's how I would differentiate it, Saeed.
Yes.
I mean, besides being at Capri, wear other hats where I serve on boards and so on.
Right.
And so I've been able to see from the inside how very, very difficult it is to get change, to get reform. You can have a minister who is ultra committed to a particular policy change or policy innovation, but to mobilize everything that needs to be mobilized to get that change is far more than you could possibly imagine until you're on the inside. And that's why I don't want to say I'm going to blame the ministry per se, because it's not, when you say the ministry is the loser, that's suggesting that there's someone there who has
very well
drop the ball.
Yes.
I get you.
And it's not, it's a systemic issue that goes beyond the ministry. It's a systemic issue of how we do things in Jamaica.
And for you, your winner is the people of Jamaica who want accountability. Your tiebreaker is the people of Cuba. They are winning and losing. And your loser was?
Those of us who sent people to supportjamaica.gov.
Wow. There you have it. Up next, the week ahead and our final analysis.
Are you looking for unbeatable deals this July? Then head on down to Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. It's the HAS July sale and everything must go. For the entire month of July, save up to 20% off yard sale items and get 15% off petroleum service and maintenance products. Plus, enjoy weekly giveaways all month long. Visit Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, 173 to 177 Hagley Park Road or 18 to 19 Montego Bay Trade Center. Mondays to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Don't miss the HAS July sale. More than just hoses, more than just savings.
If you love the vibes, the laughs, and the real talk, then you're one of us. Don't just listen, belong. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon.
9 minutes going up to 1 o'clock. Of course, this is the segment where we speak about the week ahead. Durant, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing more of this UHWI drama. And I call it drama because now I see the former chairman spilling the beans, ministerial interference. And all of a sudden I see private documents saying that he was operating underhand solely and so soon after he spilled the bean about ministerial interference. So it's become a drama. You're trying to, how should I put it, tarnish the reputation of the messenger. Yes, of the messenger. And it really hurts me deeply. So for me, it's just a drama that's unfolding there.
Very well.
It reminds me of the man at Phillips. Yes.
Got you.
Yes.
All right.
But I remember that from happening in real time, Durant. I remember that the chairman said at the time that he was resigning because of ministerial interference.
He did say that.
And the minister at the time said he dismissed them because they were, what was it? He used a very interesting term. I don't think there's anything that's coming out now that we didn't know before. No. What I am looking to see for the week ahead is what I'm always looking to see if anybody's ever going to be held accountable for these things. These things happen all the time and we just let them slide. We just move on to the next thing. I mean, it happens in health, it happens in child protection, it happens in so many other sectors. It happened with the breach of COVID, etc., etc. Are we ever going to demand that somebody be held accountable for these things? Is anybody ever going to have to answer for these things so that we don't keep having to experience them over and over again?
Yeah, I have to wrap.
I just quickly want to clarify because
10 seconds.
I'm not talking about the chairman. I'm saying so soon after the chairman spilled the bean, you hear documents saying that he was operating underhand. He operated in excess of his jurisdiction.
I have to stop you there.
That's my point. Why at this point?
I have to stop you there. So what the panel is looking forward to is the continued expose, as I'd call it, in the committees of parliament as they continue to get to the bottom of what happened at UHWI. And of course, Dr. Diana Thorburn is saying she just wants some accountability. When will we get some accountability? And that is what she's looking forward to. And dare I say I join with both of them. In fact, what I'm looking forward to next week somewhat coincides with what both my panelists have said, because what we've experienced over the last week is information going about what may have gone wrong or gone wrong. What I'm looking forward to now is what will happen thereafter. And I've always maintained, if Jamaica were a serious country, people would have resigned already. If Jamaica was a serious country, accountability would not be seen as an option. Accountability would not be seen as politics. And dare I say that people have lost jobs for less in any serious democracy. So that is what I'm looking forward to next week, to see how the blocks will begin to unfold as more information comes to the fore, as we see what some may say democracy at work, or is it politics at work? That remains to be seen in the week ahead. So, of course, until next time, I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Diana Thorburn, for joining me. Thanks, always a pleasure having you. And of course, the veteran journalist, Durant Pate. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome,
for joining me as well. And of course, that is the week that was. This is the show where we digest the news. Not you just don't consume it, you digest it, and we give you some insights as to what to look forward to for the next week. We hope that you have learned something, and we hope that you are glued to the news for the week ahead. But if you're not, rest assured, next week, 12 o'clock, same time, same place, we'll be here to break it down for you once again. That is the week that was. Yours truly, Saeed Bernard. Take care.
Tune in to